Hi guys, it's me, obviously, you can see me. My hair doesn't look as good as it did earlier when I posted that update video, but you know, we're working with it. You know, super contour so you can think that I'm very skinny. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, so I'm making this video for a couple of reasons. One, I feel I have an obligation to inform people who are curious as to what's been going on with me in general for the past couple years, basically. This has been a long time coming. Also, I also feel an obligation to make my struggles public because I know that I'm not the only one dealing with this stuff, but I'm courageous enough and not ashamed of it, so I feel like I'm the person to do it. And I also have had my story is actually a lot of twists and turns, pretty interesting. I think it's gonna be a mind-blowing story, at least in my opinion, because I have never heard anybody with a story like mine. But hey, that's what makes me unique anyway. So if you're triggered easily, this talks about self-harm, suicidal thoughts, and behaviors. There is a small mention of an assault, but we don't go into that. And then talking about legal issues, alcohol, that kind of stuff. I did have, this all stemmed, yes, from an assault that happened. I don't know exactly when it happened because I actually have no memory of the actually following 6 months to a year afterwards of what actually happened in that time frame. I know what happened as the assault, but I don't know when. So my best guesstimate is 2014 to 2015. And it was summer. I know that, but you know, anyway. And it was of a sexual nature. As embarrassing as that is, it happened. It happens to a lot of people, and unfortunately, we got to talk about it. But I'm not going to get too much into it, but I need you guys to know that because it really lays the groundwork and the foundation for what happened after that. So that happened, let's say 2014, 2015. I was over the age of 21, and I was what you would call a binge drinker. Drink. Always had a drink every night. It was my crutch. That's the only thing I could really count on to help me in times of stress because I was unmedicated. And I wasn't medicated properly nor diagnosed properly. Anyways, so I was doing that for a while, and then April 19th, 2018, I committed myself to research psychiatric because I was gonna kill myself. Like, just straight up, it's over. Like, I'm done. If I don't go, I'm killing myself that day. So, thanks to my sister and my parents, I got the courage to take myself there, and they kept me for 9 days, which is abnormally long. They usually only keep people for 3 days. They kept me for 9 on my first visit because we had a lot to go over with the PTSD they knew I had, with the depression they knew I had anxiety, but they misdiagnosed me with bipolar disorder. I don't have bipolar. I do have a version of it, which we found out, and that happened on the second stay. So May 20th, the next month of 2018, I was taken to the hospital for a suicide attempt. Most people see my scars all the time because I don't make any attempt to cover them, but so that was the scar, 10 stitches. The reason why that's so pink and red is because that was a different self-harming incident that that really needed stitches, but I didn't take it to the hospital because I didn't want to go back to research. So I just let it heal, and now I don't have a very pretty scar anymore. But anyway, and then they kept me for another 9 days, which was good because they actually found where I needed to be. I have borderline personality disorder, which is one of the worst personality disorders you can have. but it's also the best in the fact that it is treatable and curable. With right counseling and the right medications, it's 100% curable, and that's what we're working on. With borderline personality disorder, there's only really one therapy that works, and it's called DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy, because people with borderline personality, one of the biggest challenges is that they have horrible behavioral problems, which you'll soon notice. But let's get into the story. I was there for another 9 days, got the right medicines. Things were going good for about a year, because then I met my therapist in research, and he had one spot left open for me at the Lilac Center, which was amazing. And I had already hit my deductible for that year, so I could basically do as much therapy as I wanted to for nothing. But anyway, what triggered this was November 2017. I was pulled over about 5 minutes or less away from my house while my parents were out of town for drinking and driving. And I was arrested. I was taken to the Peculiar Police Station. My car was towed. My parents were out of town. I was screaming, hollering, being ridiculous. Absolutely, completely ridiculous. Pro tip, dealing with the police, be an adult. Don't be a little crybaby like I was, because it gets you nowhere. But anyway, so they ended up taking me. They arrested me for a DUI, but they didn't make me see a judge or bond me out or anything. They just took me home. I was 5 minutes away from home, so they just took me home. But we had to get a lawyer for a chunk of change.
It's like 3 of the smaller ones, maybe 4 smaller ones.
And you want them completely peeled?
Peeled and then kind of thinly sliced. I'll get those.
Okay. Guess I'll be peeling potatoes too. For a good chunk of change, and I think it's kind of funny though, because my lawyer, I swear he's got to be like in the mafia or something, like the Belton Mafia. He gets people out of really bad stuff all the time, and I was very, very fortunate to have parents that could, afford that. Well, they can't afford it, but they were able to find the money and get me a lawyer. And that DUI took a long time to get resolved, but we finally did, and they got it down to a moving violation and something else. It wasn't I don't think it was a DUI conviction, but I was put on unsupervised probation, which basically just means, don't do it again. And you have to pay for this special insurance, which calls an SR22, and that's kind of expensive. So like on top of you have to have your regular insurance and that insurance, and that sucks. But it was such a slap on the wrist. Nothing really happened besides the money. Nothing happened to me, and I was very, very lucky.
If you're not steady enough to actually cut them, then Dad can do it. Here, you can use this for the peels.
Did you get the other part of it? Peel these too?
Yeah, you don't have to peel them great, but they're going to be chopped up too.
Okay.
These are going to be sliced and sliced.
Okay. Anyway, so we got that figured out, and I was put on unsupervised probation. I was doing good, still drinking, but not drinking and driving. And I got cocky, and then let's see. I think it was October of the next year, so I was still on probation from the first DUI. And, got cocky, drank, get scared that I'm going to get in trouble because I didn't get my car home, even though I could have such easily got an Uber, got somebody to take me home, anything like that. But I wanted to get my car home, and I thought I could beat the system. I mean, I watch people walk in and out of the bar that I worked at every day, completely hammered. They never got arrested or caught or anything like that driving. Not saying it's a good thing, just saying I didn't think I would get caught. I'm not so sly, apparently. I got caught. And unfortunately, I was working at the bar, which some of you know is in Leawood, which means I was in Kansas. And as bad as this sounds, I'm going to go ahead and tell you the situation when I was actually arrested. What happened was I had been having a fight with my dad. And honestly, I used it as an excuse to get out of the house, go up to the bar, and go drink. That was it. It was not that big of a fight. He begged me to stay. My mom begged me to stay. You know, they had just no control, and I just left. And I went to a movie, got a few shots there. They cut me off, so I left in the middle of the movie, went to the bar, got hammered, decided I was going to go home.
And then whichever one of you. I just said this was for your peelings.
Oh, okay.
Here. And then whoever cuts them up, just put them in here and you can mix them together.
I need oh, you got a knife, okay.
I said if you're not steady enough to cut them.
I can cut them. Anyway, so I'm sitting at the bar. I'm just pounding back. And if you know me, I don't drink like beer or anything. I'm not that kind of person. I'd such shots or nothing, you know. And so I was drinking a lot, and then I got in the car. I was driving down State Line, and I was like, oh, crap. I am too drunk to drive. So I was, if you know anything about the State Line area, the distance between the bar and where I was trying to pull over at a Target, and it was like less than a mile away from where I left the bar, but I could tell that I was too drunk, so I was trying to get to that Target. There's a stoplight right before you get there, and so I had put the car, I didn't have to put the car in park. I had my foot on the brake in the car on this really side street that most people don't even use, and I was passed out behind the wheel. They woke me up by banging on the window as hard as they could. I was extremely confused. They ripped me out of the car, kind of slammed me up against the car. They asked me if I would do a breath test or a field sobriety test. I said no, because I was really confused. And also, I had done that the first time, and it didn't work out well, to be honest. Like, I was just doing their job for them. Like, okay, I'm just gonna make you work harder, because I'm going to jail no matter what. I knew that the moment they woke me up. I'm like, I'm going to jail. So, thankfully, they went there, they booked me, whatever.
It's 4 potatoes.
Just 4?
At least. Slice as many as you want, but actually, maybe just, how many you got? One more. One more's good.
Okay.
And then 2 cups of carrots, and then this whole onion.
What's 2 cups of carrots? The whole bag? I'm just doing the whole bag. Anyway, so I don't know if they set a bond for me. I don't think they did. But I was there for a long time, wailing. They had to put me in a cell to calm me down, because I couldn't be trusted in the booking area or in the holding cells, because I was just out of control. And eventually my dad showed up. He picked me up from jail in the middle of the night. I went home. Next day was not fun. Horrible hangover. But anyway, so then I had to go find a new lawyer, because it's a Kansas offense, and I also really couldn't afford my other lawyer, because for a second DUI, he would jack up the prices super high. So I made, first thing you ever do in those situations, just speaking from experience, set up a day of lawyers. Yes, the lawyer has to look at your case and decide if he wants to take it, or she decides if they want to take it, but it's mostly about you interviewing your lawyer, because you need to make sure you're going to be, especially with a defense lawyer, properly defended, And also, speaking from experience, if you're ever in this situation, always try to find a lawyer from the county where the offense happened, from that court, because that's how defense lawyers work. They work on the relationships they've built with the prosecutors. So this might be a no-brainer to most, but to me it was a little... I found a lawyer that I really liked who was affordable. He would do kind of under the table transaction with us, and I'm not going to call him out just because that's not the point. If you need a lawyer and you want him to represent you, just give me a shout. He practices law everywhere. But we kept continuing the case because we had a hearing for not taking the breathalyzer test, and basically that was 90 days no driving, just straight no driving. That's called an administrative hearing. And then after that, we just kept continuing the case and continuing the case and continuing the case to a point where he actually handed it off to a lawyer who was a little bit more acquainted with the prosecutors over in Kansas. And his name's Kevin, and I'm going to refer to him as Kevin because it doesn't matter. You don't know his last name. Anyway, so Kevin, we met him on the day we thought we were going to plea. And then he talks to the prosecutor, and he's like, I think I want to wait, and we'll continue it, and we'll do the plea and sentencing on the 7th of May. So we're like, okay, great. Now we have another month to worry about this. But we had paid off the lawyer. We're good. We were just like, okay, another slap on the wrist. We knew there was a potential I could be facing jail time. Absolutely. We knew that from the get-go. That was one of the first things we were told. And, when somebody tells you you're facing jail time, I don't know about you, but I get kind of cocky because I've been institutionalized twice, like a mental hospital twice. Like, I've been literally institutionalized for, 19 days. Like, I'm not scared of going to jail, blah, blah, blah. I watch jail shows, all that kind of stuff. I wasn't scared of that. 2 days, nothing. Anyway, so May 7th rolls around. He talks to the prosecutor again. And then we decide, okay, we're going to go ahead and plead guilty. And minimum for Kansas is 48 hours for a DUI offense, 48 hours in custody. And then they gave me 120 hours house arrest. So 48 hours I was not worried about at all. Honestly, not even... I was freaking out the Monday before, like freaking out to the point where I would get myself so riled up, I would pass out, like for an hour and a half. Not even kidding. I would totally just pass out. We were at work, passed out. Home, passed out. Before bed, just passed out on the wrong way on my bed, just passing out. And I wasn't drinking because that Saturday before I had to report for custody, me and my awesome behavioral issues decided we're going to cause a scene, get drunk and cause a scene. Ended up in the middle of the driveway screaming my head off to the point where the neighbors called the cops. Cops showed up. I was exhibiting signs of self-harming behavior, so they had no choice but they had to take me to the hospital. Well, what's new, to be honest. Anyway, so it was funny though. Well, it wasn't funny. It was horrible. But I was drunk, but I remember everything about it, unfortunately, because I was not drunk enough to be blackout drunk, just drunk enough to be freaked out. So when I was pleading with the officers not to take me to the hospital, you can't make me go inpatient, you can't make me go inpatient, blah, 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 blah. I looked at the lady who was the lady officer, and I was like, I think you were my dare cop in elementary school. She's like, did you go to Ray Peck? Yeah. She's like, yeah, then I probably was. And so that was awesome. I've been pulled over by her before, back in the day, like when I was like 16 or something, which, for not having the right license plate or something stupid like that. Nothing like this. But anyway, so we ended up at the hospital. Nobody was happy. I definitely wasn't happy. Anyway, long story short, I had to report for custody on Tuesday. I had 30 days to report, but I was like, I want to get this done now. Even the judge was like, oh, okay. That's pretty quick, but whatever. So I reported, self-surrendered over in Olathe. I kind of seemed comical for a while. Like, it was just so interesting. It was like being in the TV. I mean, I had been in police stations before, and I'd been booked and arrested before, and you know, that I did all that when I was drunk. But I went into this situation completely sober, and honestly, I should have gone in drunk because it probably would have made my experience a lot easier. But so I reported, went in at 9 a.m. on Tuesday, and they booked me. That took a long time. I was talking to one other girl. There's only two of us, and you know, they take your mug shot, they fingerprint you, they make you take out all your piercings, they take all your possessions, they change you. You have to change into your prison wear to do a strip search, you know, squat and cough kind of stuff, and then we got into our cells pretty darn quick because usually booking and stuff like that always takes quite a while, but no, they got us in there pretty quick. Problem was where they put me and this other girl who I called her the designated crier because I don't go into any institution and let people cry. Because and let me cry in front of people is what I mean to say. Sorry. Because that is not how I roll. I'm a stubborn bird. I always want to be the one that you're scared of because, you know, more people that are scared of me, less people that will mess with me. But so I went in, and this tiny cell, all you have is a toilet, a sink where you can't even control the water. They have to control it for you if you want any water. That's where they put all of the drunk people and the high people, the addicts and stuff. I wasn't in the regular prison where I was supposed to be. I was in this like dry out area, so it was a very barren cell. All there was a metal frame with a mattress that was about maybe this thick. There was one what I would call a smallpox blanket and a bar of soap that doesn't suds up and a piece of foam to rub on your teeth as a toothbrush with no toothpaste or anything like that. It was horrible. One book I couldn't read because it was like a medieval times book, and I'm not down with that lingo. I don't like books like that. Anyway, this part of the prison jail, let's call it jail because it's not prison. This part of the jail is actually designed to kind of mess with your head. Unfortunately, it's segregation, and so you're in this cell completely alone. And their whole point is to basically make it the worst possible experience so you never want to go back. And boy, can I tell you, good job, Olathe. I learned my lesson. Hour 13. Okay, so couldn't eat because the food was literally absolutely unedible. Also, I have celiac and they will not give me anything gluten-free. So I would have to chug down this piece of white bread that they would put on just plain like Wonder Bread piece of white bread, and then take whatever salt packets I could find and chug those for my blood pressure because I'm on a lot of medications and my blood pressure, if it gets messed up, my hands go purple, my legs go purple really quickly, I could lose an extremity because it could start dying. I could start getting clots. I could, there's a lot of bad things that could happen. I could start getting seizures. They took me off of every single medicine that I'm on. And for some of you that don't know, I have fibromyalgia, celiac disease, I have a busted disc in my back, stuff like that. And so I'm on a multitude of medicines, including a mild pain medicine, tramadol, if you're wondering. But yeah, so they just took me off of everything, which honestly could have killed me, but I'm stronger than that. My body is a little more resilient than normal people when it comes to medications, just because I'm on so many. But anyway, so there was a withdrawal. There was definitely a withdrawal, mostly because they took me off of all of my psych medicines. So I take this one antipsychotic called Seroquel. They will not provide Seroquel in prison because that's a drug that prisoners abuse in there, and so they will not provide it. Unfortunately, with me, if you don't give me Seroquel, I start hallucinating. I also start not knowing what's real and what's not real. And they unfortunately put me in the worst possible place in this prison that they could have for somebody with mental challenges, because what they do is this area is literally meant just to teach you a lesson. So they'll play all night helicopter sounds, guard sounds, door sounds. This prison isn't Olathe. It's a tiny prison. There's nothing going on there. I did see the inside of the actual prison. Beautiful. So nice. It was quiet. It was dark. Everybody was asleep. It was beautiful. And that was an accident that I saw that. I wasn't supposed to see that. The guard yanked me by my shirt, pulled me out. Anyway, that's a whole different thing. But I saw, it's a great prison. Like, I'm not saying go to prison, but if you have to actually go to prison for more than 30 days, probably a really good prison to go to. But where I was, it was not. Okay. Nobody knew this was where they were going to put me. My lawyers didn't know. My parents didn't know. Nobody knew. And so it kind of turned out to be a really big thing. We were considering pursuing legal action, but we didn't. I could go on and tell you guys about this, but I'd rather hear your questions and then maybe answer them in another video, because I could go on and on and on and on about my experience at the actual prison. But afterwards, they let me out on time. They released me into the custody of these house arrest people called Green Feather. Great company. Awesome. They're amazing. Very, very good at their jobs. They demanded that I be let out exactly on time, and they let me out exactly on time, which is hard to do in a prison, let me tell you. In a jail, prison, whatever, it's hard to get people out on time. Very hard. Could take hours. But he got me out, and then he gave me he put on the house arrest bracelet, drove me over to my dad, who was at the office, and then we were directed to go straight home, which was fine by me. Of course, I was crying my eyes out when I saw Dexter for the first time after going through something so traumatic. I had a really hard time readjusting. It took about 4 days for me to kind of stop hallucinating and actually be able to form linear thoughts, because not having my Seroquel or other mental medications in the jail, I was hour 13. I was hallucinating hardcore, and from there on, there was no break, just non-stop hallucinating, and it's very scary and upsetting. And then when you're trying to explain this to people, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't sound right. It sounds like you're a crazy person. Anyway, but I paid my debt to society. Now all I have to do is, and this sounds like an impossible task listening to what I just told you about my life, but Oh, I guess I gotta chop the potatoes.
Not chop them, slice them.
Slice them. I need a better knife. Can I get a better knife? This is really
I
difficult.
think I'll go ahead and make a double batch because we have enough.
Okay.
Would you use this on here?
But anyway, so this sounds like a very difficult task, but I have to stay clean and sober for 365 days. Call in every single night to find out if I have to go take a drug test the next morning over in Shawnee Mission. And I'm okay with that because I'm working very closely with my parents and my psychiatrist. And I start actually a new intensive outpatient dual diagnostic.
Kind of thin. About.
Okay, that's what I was planning on doing. Dual diagnostic program over at Pathways in Raymore. And my psychiatrist knows how much I suffer with a lot of stuff. And so one of the biggest things we did was get me started on anti-abuse. Now, here's the thing. I believe that drinking has become so normalized in our culture that alcoholism doesn't mean anything anymore. People don't like the stigma attached to it. I'm not going to call myself an alcoholic. I'm going to call myself a person with a problem currently. Who knows what the future holds? I don't. I mean, nobody knows. We'll see. But right now, I know it's over for a while. And it's taken a lot of stress off the family. Like, a lot of stress. I've been in some of my blackouts. I have, well, my first big blackout, broke my nose, fell face first into a counter, then immediately fell down the stairs backwards, re-broke my nose. I've cut myself, I've burned myself, I've tried to run away, I've fallen so many countless times, I'm covered in bruises. I have had intense physical, like, fist fights with my dad because he's the only one who could actually catch me and fight me, because apparently when I'm in blackout I get really freaking strong, which is kind of funny and also not funny at the same time. But so we've had so much strain on our family, and it's nice to know that we're gonna just start over now. And yes, this is a long video. We're at 32 minutes, but there's just so much more I could tell you. I'm trying to look at my notes to see if I forgot anything. I'm going to give you a quick look at some of my scars before the video is over, just because you need to see. I mean, I feel like people need to see what self-harm looks like. I also would like to put it out there. I had an experience with the girl, my designated crier, when we were in booking. We were talking about her daughters, or her daughter, and she was telling me, because she could see my scars, of course, everybody, their eyes automatically goes to it, and that's fine, but she's cutting herself, and I was asking as many questions as I could, because there are kids that do it for attention. There just are. But unfortunately, those things morph from I'm just doing this for attention to that worked and now that's all I know how to do. And that's how I've just gotten myself into so much freaking trouble. So I was asking her, like, does your daughter do it behind closed doors, or is she doing it in front of people? Like, what is the deal? Because, you know, if I was to self-harm and I have a serious self-harming problem, I would sit against my door to block anyone from getting in and self-harm that way. So I know that mine, unfortunately, is not for just attention. If it was just for attention, it'd be over by now. But no, I continue to mutilate my body. Unfortunately, stress is a huge trigger. I have recently begun, this sounds really bad, I'm just going to say mutilating the bottom of my foot, because I don't want to get too graphic with exactly what I am doing, but it's not a conscious thought. It's unfortunately just an anxiety-driven behavior that I don't really understand. And I'm working on it. Things will get better. I mean, it's just one day at a time. I don't believe in AA. I think that anything religious is kind of bullcrap. And I am going to make another video about why I'm making that statement. And it's a very, very, very important video. But I wanted this one to be more about my legal troubles and my, suicide and self-harming things, because first of all, you always have someone to reach out to. I'm here. If you need my phone number, just put it in the comments. You can text me, you can call me, you can FaceTime me. I don't care. If you feel like you need to self-harm, or you feeling suicidal, you feel hopeless, like there's no way out, babe, I've been there. I've been to hell and back, and then back to hell and back again. I've been so far down into a hole that it seems impossible. Like, why try? And so, if you could imagine, this is how I describe it. If you could imagine being dropped into a 12-foot hole. I'm 5'6", so double my size. A 12-foot hole. And people were standing at the top of the hole, looking down and saying, just get out. Get yourself out of the hole. Why aren't you trying to get yourself out of this hole? Oh, I don't know. Maybe because I'm in a 12-foot freaking hole and I don't know what to do about it? The thing is, the secret is, I figured it out. The secret is you have to start pulling the dirt from the hole. Put it under your feet. And yes, it's going to be a very slow process. Too slow. Upsettingly slow. But when people see that you're trying, that's when people want to help. People don't want to help you if you're not trying. Why would they? I mean, it sounds pointless because it is pointless. People aren't going to help people who aren't going to help themselves. And, the smallest glimmer of hope that you can give somebody to show them that you're trying is really all it needs to be. But yeah, after this, I will also be making a video that goes into more of what my recent life choices are and where I am when it comes to my circle of friends, job, religion, mostly religion, and how messed up that story is. But I want to make it its own singular video because I need it to go to as many people as possible. I just do. And then for this particular video, please just contact me. I have a lot of experience. I mean, I've been through so much in the past few years. I've done everything you can think of and more. So please let me know. I'll give you a quick rundown on my scars, just so I feel like if I get it out there, it's a little bit no longer. Summer's coming around, and I know I'm gonna be embarrassed, and I'd rather just do this now than be embarrassed in public and be shamed about it and all this, because I'm not supposed to be shamed about it. It's not a shameful thing. But I'll show you, and then that will be the end of the video, because I guess I'm gonna make dinner. But I don't know how to turn this around. Anyway. What? Yeah. Thank God it's over, right? Got that scar. You've seen that. These ones make no sense. This was purely for attention because they look like claw marks. Believe it or not, no, they were definitely done with a razor blade many times over again. But that's my apparently my attention arm. This is my serious arm. And then these are the scars that I was talking about that I'm gonna be kind of embarrassed by. But anyway, I don't really know. I wish I could turn this around, but yeah. Oh, there you go. You can see I'm a little better that way. Yeah. Don't get to this point, guys. Just don't. And remember, I love you. I'm here to help. There's nothing you could say to me that would surprise me. Nothing. So, anyway, lots of love. Stay healthy. Bye.